For this, so in case you forgot. So the book, last time, we're going to do a little bit review. We're going to start with Naomi. Naomi, what did we talk about last time?
We started off by talking about classical education.
You like it? Why don't you sit it here? So I see on the top of the table, so you can stare, buddy.
Classical education.
Yeah.
And then,
What is a classical education to begin with? Get it nitty-gritty, is
I
okay?
actually wanted to look over it a little more.
Yeah.
Understand it a little more as well.
Are you guys able to download that software we're talking
What is
about?
it? The
Wikipedia?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't able to.
Well, I mean, I texted all you guys to have Dad help you. So.
Okay. Okay, you got to catch up with what I told you to do, okay? So you're going to have a very hard time to catch up with what I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So now write that down. So make a special section in your notebook for must-have items, okay? So when I tell you must have it, you must have it. So maybe you got to get it done. So now what do we need for now? A few items to prepare for this lesson, for your future lesson. You got to have the app. What's next you need to do? You need to install Trello board as your communication tool that can be used for your software on the phone as well as on your computer. Okay, so
And then what's the other app called?
Trello. So now that must be done as soon as possible. So also, does the Trello include all your invitation in your email, I believe? So you already have that invitation, right? So yeah. So that's gonna lead you, let Noah, your mom, your dad help you to get it lined up. Okay, so yeah. That's gonna improve your computer skill on the way, how to communicate work with others. So it's a tool you can use. Okay. So,
Are we getting that on our computer or phone? Or
you can use your phone and computer.
Okay.
It's a free. So yeah. I'm sorry I had to tell you in a little bit serious tone, but to be a teacher is a hard time to communicate with young people. So okay, so the second thing is you gotta get your new book going on. So okay, so good. So also the poem book, if you have it, we're going to get that book order.
Yeah, those are on the way.
Good. Okay, good. So now back to the review, Naomi, about the classical education. What is classical education again? Not really. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know for sure.
Okay. Take a search on that. That's a good question mark. And I'm saying, hey, I need to do the reading on classical education. What it look like? Now, why is this important for you to know those items? Because you need to understand the education system in school, in textbook, everything designed came from a background. And your education in the beginning, as you further down the road, will be we use our materials. We still have to follow certain requirements that system, required of you. But we might be able to break off, so you understand there are different ways to educate young people. Am I making sense, Esther? Yeah. Okay. So the second thing is to learn to listen. Okay, learn to learn. So that's going to require you to pay attention. Okay, so those things has to be learned to display yourself in the class setting. To do it. I know it's very hard on the beginning because I'm going to pick on you, but this young man has changed his learning habit. In the beginning, you can't even stay for a half second. So to pay attention, but he can stay now for long span of time, pay attention to things. Now, young people understand you have agile mind. Especially in group setting, you might don't quite pay attention, engage a topic, or you never learn to do that. One of the benefits that come around, Esther, you hear me? Yeah, is to learn those disciplines. It's beyond merely just reading, beyond merely a subject. Actually, it's a holistic discipline for you to learn to certain people are going to get a lecture. That's something I told you to shut down the phone. Okay, so those are discipline or requirements. You have to learn to do it. Okay, so you're not at home. You're not running around with your peer, have a party time. You got to learn to have an official, formal time with the people. And nobody in your life has instilled that to you as yet. I like take the harder role to instill that to you, which is a role I don't like to play, but I have to do it so, as your teacher. You understand my point? Yeah. The second thing is how to learn is how to pay attention, more than engage in the topic, more than hear the topic, but to participate, active participate in the topic. When, for example, you have questions in your back of your head, learn to ask the questions. Those questions should be asked right away. That's very wonderful if you think it need to be done. Or certain questions is going to disturb the flow of or outside the topic that is currently being discussed. You might say, okay, can I ask you some after class? Can I ask you something? We have personal discussion about those things. And I have a topic totally outside the thing we talk about. I'm very interested, curious about it. I have a question about it. Can you spend some time with me? Give some, have a discussion on that, learn that. Noah is really good with that. Now, that is part of what it means to be a good learner. You engage the teacher. Teacher is not a threat to you. Teacher is not imposing figure to you. Teacher is your helper, right? So now in human interaction, very interesting. You guys have dogs, right? Huh? You have dogs, right? So now certain dogs naturally come to you to be friendly with you. Certain dogs that don't, right? Making sense to you? Now how you develop relationship, Esther? You want the dog to be friendly to you, like that dog, what do?
You be nice to them and
there you go. You're gonna spend time, right? Make room, make opportunity that dog said, okay, finally I'm not a threat to you, I'm not uncomfortable with you, because you want to have a relation with that dog. And making sense to you? No. That skill is very important in human interactions, building human relationships. Now, you want to have good relationship with your parents, you can do that. Good relation with your friends, you're going to do that. With anyone, now the particular person you want to have a good relation with in the classroom setting, which you're going to spend hours after hours to sitting on somebody tell you, what do you want to do? He's a broadcaster or he's your teacher. You want to build a personal interaction relationship with them, right? So that's going to be up to you. Now, certain students always shun away the teacher. They don't use the teacher as a helper, which the teacher, any teacher wants to help the students. Unless it's a bad teacher, right? So any good teacher, decent teacher, they said, that students were respectful, were increasing, were much on the learn, have a zeal, have interest in the subject I'm doing. I'm going to teach. I'm going to make myself available more, engage more, right? So, now, certain teachers, they're going to show favor to you, right? So that's how you do it. Like a dog don't to squeeze anybody, right? On anybody's lap, they're going to come to you. Now, those are interesting things you might not aware, but you're going to learn in a group setting, in such a setting, learn that is very important. Esther, making sense to you? Yeah, that's something you have to learn. It's called the skill sets. Okay, so the other thing I want to tell you is learn to ask relevant questions, interesting questions. Okay, like your dad is very good at teach some basic skill about learning. Okay, so it will help you down the long way. Your dad is a very good teacher. He's a good driver. He's very avid in learning things as well. One of the traits you can see he's excited with driving. He always said, "Hey, I drive too fast." I said, "Slow down, buddy." So he said, "No problem, no problem." I said, "What do you mean, no problem?" So you drive too fast, shifting lanes sometimes. Sometimes we drive together, he show off his skills. Right? So okay. So I talked to him. He began to talk to me about something very important in life. I learned a huge lesson. It's called proactive driving. Have you shared that with you guys? Did he tell you proactive driving what it is?
I don't think so.
Maybe if you got more of an explanation what he's talking about, maybe.
Proactive, like you look around. You're not the passive driver.
Oh,
You look at the wrong, look at the car, look at the,
Like, you look at, if I don't know if this is what you're talking about, something explained to me, like, looking ahead of you to see what's happening
Exactly.
for, like,
yeah.
so what you can do before.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's definitely told me about that.
Yeah, certain people drive only like 5 inches on the roads and suddenly something happens. It always causes some surprise, right?
Yeah, he was talking about like when you're on a 2-lane road
Uh-huh.
and a car comes by this
Yeah,
way. He's talking about to always, right when it goes by, to always look behind you and see what happens to that car. Because if something happened to that car behind you and then the person in front of you coming that way could do something on your lane, you should always just
Pay attention
Pay
to
attention
the
to all
all
around. Yeah,
peripheral,
all
am I? All around. Is that making sense, Esther, to you? Yeah. Now, how you do that? In any subject, in any matter in life, you need to do that all the time with everything. If you think about it, am I right? It's more than just driving cars, because that principle can apply to anywhere. Let Elijah explain to you when I talk to him about it. When you learn one thing, you can apply to at least one.
A few other things.
Yeah. Okay. Explain to them what that means to be a good learner. So.
Yeah. Well, what
You
is
roll
that?
the essay on it, am I right?
Yep.
Okay, share that essay with this to ladies, please.
Yeah. I'm actually, but about the essay, my computer that I wrote it on crashed,
Just
so
disappeared on you.
yeah, which really stinks because I wanted to keep that. I actually have it on I think I may have sent it on an email, so I might have it.
Yeah, I might have it. Yeah.
All right. But what he's talking about is one of Confucius' teachings is like, it's one of 3 things of how to learn. The first, well, it was the second one, like if you're learning something, learn more than one thing at a time.
This one is my own. It's not Confucius.
Really?
It's okay.
But yeah, so it's kind of like the saying, like two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
So if you throw one stone, you can hit 2 birds. But like when you're learning something, you can learn, like say you're learning math, and math can help you. Oh, sorry, that's not a good example. But just learning more than one thing at a time, like learning through the human body and learning about other things through the human body, because you can even include math when learning about that kind of stuff with different. And that it's not just with school, but like in life, just with different things that you're doing. It does mostly go with education and stuff, but you kind of get what I'm saying.
Let's make a practice of it. Let's see. Esther, you learn use a pot to fry your egg in the morning. Get some breakfast, right? So, okay, this simple matter to cook some meal. Now, imagine right now you don't have a pot. In the wilderness, you don't have gas. But you understand the principle. There is some flat surface can be heated up by fire, and then you can cook something on top of it. Am I right? So, make sense? It makes something eatable to you. It's not raw anymore. So the same principle naturally carries you. You go out to the wilderness and you're going to start a campfire and make a flat stone on top of it. It's like a cooking surface. Well, I don't have egg, unfortunately. Maybe I could get some fish, some other meat, some other vegetable to fry a little bit. Am I right? So you have you don't eat raw. you change the habit to say, hey, I still can eating some decent food, even it's not, as ready, as good as cooking breakfast, right? So take a lot of hard time, but you can improve your life that. Now that's because you're gonna desperately hungry and said, I don't want to eat raw fish, right? So that's my point. The need prepare you to do that. Naturally you're going to be inventive about yourself. The situation, the environment press you to that need, and you become a super inventive. Listen to me very carefully. I'll try to impart some things to you. Now, if you are a wise man, when you're cooking some eggs, you're cooking things, you're thinking about 2 occasions you can list. First, you said, okay, I'm going to be the best chef in the world. I'm going to cook this meal for a best honorable guest. How will I do it? I mean, it's not just feeding a family. Maybe I can cook this for myself. I can cook for my dad. That's something, should get gesture. Right? You do that sometimes, right? Cook something for the next person in the family. But you think about, okay, if I'm going to cook this, what am I going to do when the president comes to visit me? Or my grandpa comes and said, hey, I want to eat what Esther can do because she said this is a little bit of chef, So, and the next one you said, okay, what if I run up this comfortable setup as in a place by the river, had a really start from scratch to make it this, catch a fish to eat it. How can I do it? Now, mindset of that, if a young lady just carry around defaulting your life, said, just morning eggs, you learn cooking, you never think about the other occasions, right? But if you begin to apply your life, to spend your life, said, whoa, by cooking one egg for myself, I'm not hungry anymore. I can think about, okay, maybe I can do this better next time. Cook something for Naomi to cheer her up because she just bought me a beautiful birthday gift. Says my phone, apply that. Oh, maybe I can fry eggs so good, create a recipe out of it. I can cook for somebody that's, a special guest, so. Or I learned maybe to survival skills in the wilderness, right? You think about this way of learning, naturally what happened to you? What going to happen to you, You learn cooking one egg, but you ready eat this little cooking one egg? Or naturally your life is expanded. Making sense to you? Yeah. No. There is a point, narrow down the history. Why you learn history? Last time we talked about why we learn history. Give me some comment on that.
To look back on the people before us and learn from their mistakes.
The mistakes apply to this situation. Yeah. Until you know how to apply, your knowledge is your bad knowledge, is information, right? Now, everything to do, you learn in life, I guess there's taking notes, to do is application. When you learn something, you understand how to apply that skill sets. In philosophy, whatever, theories, in history, those kind of liberal art, it's most time you will think, just from story, from theory, somebody is so smart in their thinking. Well, there's a reason why people have those things wrong. Am I thinking those things to begin with? If we don't understand it, we just think there's a bunch of knowledge, a bunch of smartness that has nothing to do with my life. So now, on the other side, people begin to have a mindset. So, okay, let's not talking about what happened to history. Let's talk about what I'm going to do with today's life, where my life is, where this generation I am, what the days to come, right? So, not predicting, but understand on an in-depth way, on a broader way, what's going wrong in your life. Making sense to you? This history. What about science? You learn science, you see the different application of it. Now, I don't want to expand too much, so continue the review. It's Naomi. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to teach only information to you. I'm going to make you a good student. Learn how to learn is a big task for my engagement with you guys. Okay, to learn how to learn. You think I know how to learn. Matter of fact, with the examiner, right, you really don't know how to learn yet. If you think you already know how to learn, we got to be a problem. Most of the people in their life, they never learn how to learn. They don't think about it. This natural skill sets, natural ways, natural endowment, they're smart with something, and then go along with it. They never apply some discipline, some thinking on what it means to learn something. And when you learn how to learn, you can see the huge gap, a difference about learning things. Make sense to you? Yeah. So you can see I teach differently. Why I teach differently? Because I know how to learn. That's why I teach differently, to inspire you to absorb information, apply information, the thing you learn differently. Now that sounds bragging, but I'm going to have Noah to give some comment, exposition on that. Noah, go ahead.
What specifically?
Learn how to learn. Yeah.
There's a lot entailed with what that means, some things that we've already touched on. But
write that one down. That's required a lifelong lesson for you.
Right, what?
Learn how to learn.
Okay.
Yeah. You already did good. The first thing is breaking the mode. Said you already know how to learn, right? Yeah. So you have to be a student to learn how to learn. If you think you already know how to learn, that's pride to begin with. Good.
I'd just like to clarify something. I think
Yes.
a large amount of that learning or that practice of learning how to learn comes through learning. So in our situation on Mondays in a time like this, we're learning how to learn through a study of history, for example. And so as we meet together in the mornings, we're kind of beginning this process of learning how to learn by going over another subject. And so it's just to clarify between, like, learning how to learn is in part a subject in and of itself, but you practice learning how to learn when learning something else. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, for instance, one of the first things we mentioned was to practice the art or the ability to apply that which is learned. So we're learning right now that history is more than just a chronological conveyed picture of facts. We're actually seeing that history can reveal patterns to us in things like, say, behavior of man over time, or how certain, like we mentioned last time, how the key role that decisions play, not only in history but even in our own lives. So we can see that can serve as an application of that which is learned, which is an important aspect in learning how to learn. And then another thing that we'll see, as Emmanuel started to talk about as we began this morning, was his position as a teacher and our positions as students. we'll see later that that's another very important part in learning how to learn, is to realize the importance of the relationships involved in the process of learning. And so, in this case, we're in more of like a classroom setting where we are students, and then we have someone leading us through this process of learning, like Manuel as the teacher. And so we're going to see that even the smallest things, we're going to see that the greatest things, like say our interest in the subject, to the smallest things, like our eye contact and attention to Emmanuel's teaching, all are included in the process of learning how to learn. And so it's kind of like the medium between the learner and the subject is this process of learning how to learn. So there, you'll realize that there are a lot of, it's not a particularly complicated thing, but it is a very profound thing. But you'll see through interest in it that it's going to be a very...
That is not good. So.
What's that?
What? You think, like, you sit, you pay attention, you respect people who are talking to you. You don't want people, when you talk to somebody, imagine you're a parent, you're a teacher now. Well, do you like the students don't listen to you, don't pay attention to you? When you're going to be a parent, you're going to have a child, or be a leader of a group or something, the people just scatter, don't pay attention to you. Would you feel good about it? I'm just talking. Casual, common sense, right? So it's a very easy topic to think about it. So, but you apply to yourself, you feel stressed by doing that. Why you stress it out is because you're not practicing, you're not aware of those things. But those things are very, very practical things in life. It's a very important skill sets in life. Sometimes they can be so consequential for your relation with people, which don't recognize how consequential they are. They're more important than you beat the score, for example. Have know a subject. Because God's favor, God's blessing often work through what? Through human relationships. And relationships not formulated by this society's culture is everybody do whatever they want. Especially young people's interests and preferences almost wrong the precedents than others' opinions, others' traditions, the things that others said, well, that's good, that's not bad, so that's not good. We don't even allow people to tell us that anymore. It's frustrating to us, or a challenge to us, humiliating to us. Actually, that's what the elders, what the parents are supposed to. Or you want the good friends in your life to tell you, well, that's a good thing to do, that's not a good thing to do. And right? So you don't want those people to tell you, you're all good, you're just wonderful, there's no problem in your life. Actually, you're full of problems, and right? You're full of flaws. And you want to improve it. Those cycles, those habits, sometimes cause a lot of frustration and setback for your life. Now, how you do that? Then you need to learn to be a good student for life, a good teaching you those things, bring awareness to you, because you're mature enough. You see those patterns also may cause you, come back to you, in your life, frustrate you, cause a setback to you. I spent about a long time talk to Nova about this, spend a substantial amount of time when Elijah come around, so now it's your turns. Your turns. But you're going to get used to it. When you get over on the other side, you will see your life substantially begin to grow. Your mental capacity, your learning capacity, you suddenly found yourself, you can't help absorb the information in most productive way. You can't help just develop learning skills, learning interest in a very, very efficient way. I'm making sense to you? So you're not scattered anymore. You're not undisciplined. You can discern things. This is the things I need to do. This things I need not to do. This conversation I can't carry on. This conversation I need to cut it short and walk away. You spend your time, spend your mind, spend your energy in a more prudent, balanced way, which those things cannot be taught by merely just a sort of sense says, hey, have prudence, have wisdom in life, and it doesn't work like that. So how you do it is through human interaction, through practice. Most of the time, those things are not constructed by people. It's randomly happen, occasionally happen. Then we go through a terrible trial time and said, okay, I got something I really feel it's a problem in my life. I need counsel, I need help, I need somebody to help me to see through. And I see things I don't see. But things don't have to be learn from that terrible negative side. So how you learn is basically come to environment like this, when people talk to you about those things, parents talk about you those things, people like me understand the value of those things, begin to impart that part to you. Then you say, okay, I need to pay attention to those things because those are very relevant for my life. It's not just a topic, a good thinking, a good idea. They actually setting me apart from a negative way of learning in life. Because I don't need to learn always from negative experiences. When I'm bruised, when I stumble, when I go somewhere I don't want to go, so it's supposed to be, then I learn something, right? So let's say, give you a simple example, parable for this. Esther, you have a seat, a train riding on the track, right? So now imagine there is a destination A to B, okay? The train going supposed to go. Now, evidently, if somebody tell you, let's move and build a train from an A to a train track, and it's constructed a train from an A to B. If somebody have a chariot, or he can walk, or maybe he can fly, who knows what he can do, so basically. Now he said, there's no need for me to build a train track and build a train from A to B. What do you use? What do you use? I mean, just one person is just make a journey, go there. He never come back. He don't never travel between anymore. Surely he don't need it. Then maybe he build a chariot, have a horse riding the horse, get there. He never come back. He never needed to back and forth anymore, right? So, not the people who do commerce. When they do commerce, they have to transact a commodity from one place A to B to have another commodity come back. They're going to continue to do this, right? On a almost daily basis, who knows? They do this again. If that person have a totally different idea what it means should we build a train track or not? Should we have a train or not? Making sense to you? So for the first person, that's ridiculous because it's a price and the effort you want to pay. But for the person who manages the commerce, who is a transporter, who's a governor of this nation, right? So making sense to you? He will see the tremendous benefit of building a train track, which is why train become a big thing for a while, right? Revolutionize this economy of this nation. That's part of the history you can have to learn as well. So, why in this way of thinking is needed? But your perspective change, your need change, your inside of things change. Then you see a different set of application of things. It's the same example. Should we have a train track laid out? Different people will have different answers, am I right? A fisherman by the sea, he said, what do you mean have the train? We don't need train. Give me another shape, right? So I don't need a train. For him, that's his reality of life. Yeah, he don't need a train. He make a living without a train. And that's my point. For the one, maybe ride the train, well, that's good. I ride the train, better ride a horse, better be walk. But when you're a governor of this land, you're going to improve the infrastructure of the nation. Thinking about long-term costs. Let's hold on there. I have to stop. Sorry for that. Okay, so now wrap up the conversation, I'll try to impart to you guys how to learn so you can pay attention and make this time more effective. So now give me a little bit summary as to what I just shared this morning at this point.
Like from just that conversation?
Mm-hmm.
The whole month?
From the beginning of this conversation, what it carried. Casual conversation. Yeah.
You're talking about how to learn.
Exactly.
And wait, I closed my eyes.
It's okay. Can use your mind. Yeah.
Let's see.
You got it. Basically, the main purpose is to teach you guys how to learn, am I right? How to use this time, this environment, this occasion more effectively for you. I have some expectations, I have some method, I have some expectation beyond merely to teach you the information of the book. I wanted to impart, inspire you, your mind, to learn to be what it means to be a good student, to be a good learner, not a student to me or the subject, good students of life, am I? And the subject you learn. Now let's turn to the real topic then. Hopefully we'll cover very quickly. I'm going to read from this point on. Okay, so the Holy Chapter 1 is the title. Write down the title. There are 2 sessions. Today we're going to only finish the first session. Chapter 1, the title is A World Empires. Empires is big kingdoms, am I right? So more than just small kingdoms, big kingdoms. There are 2 sections there. That's how you learn. The first one is the Holy Roman Empire, which we'll cover today. The second section to this chapter is called the Riches of Spain, speaking about the Spaniards as empire.
What was the first one again?
The first one is the Holy Roman Empire. Holy Roman Empire. So, last time we briefly mentioned the map, so we're going to first go through the map. You can see this South Africa, that's North America, right? So it's the Atlantic Ocean. This is Africa. Now north of it is Europe. And in Europe, let's read all these names. Esther, can you do the names reading for me? These nations. Netherlands. France here. Spain's here.
And Portugal.
Okay, what is this guy?
Germany.
Okay, so that's Mediterranean Sea, right? So, you can thank you. Okay. Now we know this most about European nations and this portion. So this happened to Europe. Okay, so Holy Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. The second portion is called the Riches of Spain. So you can see through the title, there's a change of culture center, am I right? From Roman Empire to Spain. So, let's look at it. I'm going to read very fast the text for you, okay? Then we go to zooming in to see what we discussed. You imagine that you're a world traveler in the year 1600. Write that number down, 1600. You spent the last 20 years journeying around the world. You slept in Arabian tents, European palaces, and Native American longhorses. You're eating fermented fish sauce in Rome. Calves intestine in potted in England. Seriously? Okay. I don't want to go to England that time. Sugar-coated beets in Wentzburg. Wentzburger. Where is Wentzburger? That's might be wrong, but I live in Germany, okay? So,
Wait, what is it?
Wendenberger. That's Germany, yeah.
Wittenberg, yeah.
Wittenberg. Okay, whatever. Okay, I hear you. Seriously?
Wittenberg right next to French fries.
Yeah. And gilded boar's head in France. Gilded boar's head in France.
Oh,
Give me a
goodness.
break, yeah. People do hunting those times.
Yeah.
So you only have two teeth left. Seriously, the rest fall out because of scurvy and the sugared beets. Seriously, okay. Yucks, eh? Okay, 2 teeth left. Okay, remember, 2 teeth left. Okay. On your last journey to Iceland, you lost 3 toes to the frostbite. Pretty torture yourself well on this one. You've been beaten by a camel in Asia, a cobra in India, and a water moccasin. What is that? It's
As a snake.
a snake. Okay. In North America. Wow, you definitely are a eventful person. So your travels around the world, you see 2 flags. One with a red cross on a white background. We know that one, right? Columbus carried that one. And the other bearing a 2-headed eagle all over the world. You've seen the red cross and the 2-headed eagle in Spain and Portugal and Portugal, and all over Europe. Correct my pronunciation, please. From Alps up to soggy coast of the Netherlands. You've seen those flags flying over settlements in North America, South America, and even the Philippines. No matter where you go, the red cross and 2-headed eagle are there. Let's ask. Who do you think Philippines belong to in those times? Which nation belong to? Maybe history query. Philippines belong to Spain, right? Those times. Anyways, so it's one of the colonies of Spain. Then after Spain dissipated, American took over. Okay, so anyway, so those are new information too.
That's weird because I thought in the council or whatever, the treaty, I forget exactly what it was called, but they split. They had a split between the coast of Africa and North America for like a Western hemisphere and an Eastern hemisphere between Portugal and Spain.
Oh,
so I thought
that might happen. I don't know. So maybe my history.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember.
American took over from Spain. That's for sure.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
And let's go on. So the 2 kings who fly those flags, Philip II of Spain, and Ferdinand I of the Holy Roman Empire. So Philip II of Spain and Ferdinand I of Holy Empire. Let's spell out. Philip II of Spain, Empire, and Ferdinand First of Holy Roman Empire. Ferdinand, how to spell, is F-E-R-D-I-N-E-N-D. Okay, for the first. You can use the Roman number just in like an I. So.
You're the first of what?
Of Holy Roman Empire.
Okay.
Yeah. Their nephew's uncle. Who is nephew? Philip II is nephew to Ferdinand. They ruled over an enormous part of the world because one very fortunate little boy. 100 years before our story begins, in the year 1500, 1500, so 100 years earlier, this fortunate baby was born in a cold stone palace in northern Europe. His father was the king of the Netherlands. His grandfather ruled over lands in Germany. And his other grandfather was the king of Spain. This baby was named Charles, and the 3 kings in the family. His name is what? Charles. Very interesting person. Charles. Okay. His name is what? Charles. Okay. When Charles was only 6, his father died, and Charles became king of the Netherlands. When he was 16, his Spanish grandfather died and left him the throne of Spain. When he was 19, His German grandfather died. He became king over German lands. Charles was still a teenager, but he was a teenager with the 3 thrones. Who are these 3 thrones? His father is the king of Netherlands. His one grandfather is a Spanish, right? Spaniard. The other is Germany. So now, in his teenager years, he became the king of most of the Europe at that time. But Charles wanted even more. He wanted the title Holy Roman Emperor. 1500 years before Charles was born, the Roman Empire spread across Europe and down into Africa. Everyone who lived inside the empire's borders expected to follow Roman laws and to live in peace. This Roman peace lasted until barbarians invaded, then the Roman Empire collapsed. That's a book that no one is reading. It might decline the Roman Empire. You might want to write down, book down the title, give them the title and the author of the name. The decline of.
So it's called The History of the Fall and Decline of the Roman Empire.
The author is
Edward Gibbon.
Edward Gibbon.
The History of the Fall and Decline of the Roman Empire.
Okay, that's one of the major historical books of the time, across history actually. You might not have time to read it, but you might know, at least know that book exists. Okay. You learn history, you're going to learn historians, right? There's theory, how the major works history. That's one of the major work and major history in the called the subject history, right? Through the ages, people write history and study history. So that's the word classical work. So anyway, so for the next 500 years, warring peoples fought with each other all over Europe, until a Greek king named Charles Mangin. How to say that? Charles what?
Charlemagne.
Charlemagne, whatever. So Charlemagne. So that is the name you must read. You must remember. Okay, Charlemagne. Charlemagene. This name is the most important in the European history, in the world history, because he united Europe, I think. So, came to the throne of France. Charlemagne conquered the nearby German lands and added them to his own territory. Charlemagne, he established a Holy Roman Empire. He passed laws to keep his kingdom peaceful. His empire became so large that the Pope, P-O-P-E, the leader of the Christian church in the West, called the Catholic Church. You guys know Catholic Church, am I right? Not in this historical setting, a different institution. Held a special church service and proclaimed Charlemagne to be the Roman Emperor. So now the church confessed he being what? The rightful ruler. So this is the first time the church and the states were invested in the secular power that is this empire. Okay, so that made the church very, very powerful after that as well. So, but the Roman Empire had been destroyed centuries ago. So what did this mean? It's the second Roman Empire. Now, what is the third? Where does the third came from? The third Reich. That actually Hitler tried to do. Okay, this is the vision that Hitler wanted to restore the former glory of Europe. Understand that this history is drive them crazy, basically. Okay, Charles want to be known. I'm sorry. It means that Charlemagne new empire would keep the peace over a large part of Europe, just as the Roman Empire had done in ancient times. Is this so boring, huh? I know. It's boring history. The road were boring, man. So, and since Charlemagne was a Christian, his new Roman Empire could also spread Christianity through the world. This is why Ptolemy eventually became known as a Holy Roman Empire. So emperor. So he's different than the former one. The former one started with non-Christian, right? Eventually, through whom he will convert to Christianity. Constantine. Yeah, write that one down. You're going to be tested in everywhere if you do the test.
Wait, what's the word?
Okay, ask no one again.
Of the name of that.
The
person
first
yeah.
Roman Empire who made Christianity a state religion.
Yeah, that was Constantine.
Constantine. Okay.
So just say constant, then I-N-E.
Yeah. Now, homework, you might read something about that event. It's most important of Christian history, Christianity, history of Christianity, and world history. So, Constantine. Okay. Now let's move on then. So Charles wanted to be known as the Holy Roman Empire too. So we have two emperors competing the same title. But first he had to convince the Pope to hold a special service proclaiming him Roman Emperor. And the Pope wasn't sure he wanted to give Charles this title and the power that went along with it. Charles already ruled most of Europe. Charles became even stronger. What would happen to the power of the Pope? So they're competing each other, right? The Pope wasn't alone in his worries. The King of France was afraid that Charles might invade France. And the princes who ruled over Italy was also anxious to keep their independence from Charles. Charles is more on the west side, right, of the Europe nations, Netherlands, Spain, Germany, part of Germany, and other nations don't want to be part of his role. So the King of France, the Pope, and the Italy princes all joined together to fight against Charles and his armies. So this is the war going on. Charles wasn't discouraged. If he couldn't convince the Pope to crown him emperor willingly, he would resort to force. His strategy was simple and shocking. For a year, Charles was oppressed. See, this is Charles at the time, Martin Luther is the king. Okay? This emperor, Charles Martin Luther, will hold the hearing for in Germany. What is the place called again? All the interesting names. So, basically hold a council, try to judge Martin Luther, and right? So, to tell Martin Luther to give up. So, anyway, let's go on. They eventually allied with Protestants. Okay, for a year, Charles and oppressed Protestant Christians who lived in the territories. These Protestants believed that the Catholic Church was corrupt and that the Pope did not have the authority to tell all Christians how to worship and live. Who spearheaded this movement? I just mentioned, who spearheaded this movement? Elijah, who spearheaded this movement? Protestants? Martin Luther, and right? And the other one called Carl. One write that one down. So a little bit ask a little bit. In church history, your dad has a wonderful book. Too long, maybe anyone interested, ask him to give you some brief on that. Read the chapter from that book. Noah, you finished that book, right? So,
both of them, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So basically, Martin Luther and Calvin started the Protestant movement, most in Germany, in Switzerland, I think those regions, even in France, invaded France. So that's where Charles' territory is. But he evidently wanted to oppress that in the beginning to win favor from Pope, to crown him as emperor, but eventually have soured the relationship. Then Charles returned to ally himself with the Protestants. This is history, okay? So Charles had to put the Protestants in jail, taking away their lands, and executed them. But Charles knew that these Protestants would be willing to fight against the Pope. So he hired an army of German Protestants and sent them along with his own soldiers to attack Rome. This emperor army called the German Fury, write that down, German Fury. German Fury, who is the leader of this army? German Fury? Charles, the king, Emperor Charles, marched down to Rome and surrounded it. The Pope soldiers were outnumbered. They fired a few shots from the walls with the old battered cannons, but the invaders broken down gates that streamed through the city. The Pope and the soldiers retreated fortress inside the city and barred themselves in for 8 months. The Pope remained a prisoner inside his fortress until the German fury stormed through Rome, burning, killing, stealing treasure. That's pretty bad, right? That's Protestant war with Catholics started with. So, meanwhile, Charles was still up in Spain, pretending he knew nothing about the attacking walls. For wicked king. He sent a message to the Pope claiming that the German fury had acted without his permission. "I'm outraged," Charles exclaimed. "How could such a thing happen?" Did the Pope believe the message? We don't know, but we do know that the Pope agreed to hold a special service which would crown Charles Holy Roman Empire. In turn, Charles helped the Pope to fend off the fury. Now Charles could describe himself as the king of the Romans, king of Spain, Sicily, Jerusalem, the Indians, the mainland, in the far side of the Atlantic, Archduke for Austria, Duke for Burgundy and Athens. I don't think you need to remember all this stuff. Okay, so course for Habsburg, I don't even know where they are from. So Flanders, okay, Lord of Asia and Africa. So he has a long title. That's his title. Okay, King of Romans, Spain, even Jerusalem, and it's the Lord of Asia and Africa. Can you believe that? That's how big he is. Okay. But despite his fancy titles, Charles had plenty of problems. He spent years of his reign fighting, and wars cost money. He was growing poorer within his own kingdom. Catholics and Protestants are constantly battling with each other. And his Protestant subjects no longer wanted to obey Charles' decrees. 24 years after the Pope crowned him as emperor, Charles decided he could no longer rule his empire. Dressed in black, leaning on the arm, one is a favorite nobleman. He rose from his throne, told the followers, "I have done my best to protect my country and my faith, but I am too weak and ill to continue the struggle. So I must resign my throne. I will give Spain, the Netherlands, and my Italian lands to my son, Philip." All Charles' followers wept, and the emperor sat back onto the throne. 1 year later, Charles the Fifth, the fifth, that's the Roman number for fifth, gave the rest of his empire to his brother Ferdinand the First, who became the Holy Emperor in his place. Charles went to live in the monastery where he spent his days praying and reading. He died less than 2 years later. Okay, the fortunate little boy that lost his kingdoms, but his brother Ferdinand and his son Philip now rule over the richest kingdom in the West, and their actions would change the world. So this gives you a prelude to the following events going on. Okay, that is going to start this portion of the story of the world. Okay, let's review a little bit some details. First, Elijah, why don't you do the review for us a little bit?
So first part of the book kind of went over part of the book that didn't really matter. But we went through kind of some period throughout like Spain and Roman empires in that area with Netherlands, Germany, that area with people, with the Pope and like that one boy who was fortunate enough to rule over all those places. That was what was his name again?
Charles, am I right? Charles.
Charles, was it Charles Charlemagne?
Charlemagne. Yeah.
All right.
You gotta think it's the same person. Is that the same person?
Is it?
Same
Yeah.
person. Yeah, the same person.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, so it's Charles the king, that boy, that
Charlemagne.
that's the same person?
Wait,
I
Charles?
think so.
No, Charles not Charles.
Charles, not Charlemagne.
I
Okay.
don't
Charles and
think
Charles
so
are
because this is what happened. He introduced, if I followed you correctly, he introduced Charles V as at that time the king of Netherlands, Spain, and Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went back in time a little bit, just explaining the time of year 1000 to 1500 BC, explaining that was a period of war, to which then Charlemagne of France establishes the Holy Roman Empire after conquering Germany. And then he becomes...
Oh, he's before Charles. Before
Yeah,
Charlemagne.
that's right.
Yeah, Charlemagne is before Charles.
And then it comes back to Charles,
Yeah.
who began to rise up against the King of France and the Pope.
Let me read this portion
Yeah,
again
go ahead.
so that we can clear. So, 1500 years before Charles was born, the Roman Empire spread across Europe and down to Africa. Excuse me. Everyone who lived inside the empire brought respect to follow Roman's law and live in peace. So that's Roman peace. This Roman peace lasts until barbarians invaded, and then the Roman Empire collapsed. Is the first one, the Roman Empire. The next 500 years, warring people fought with each other all over Europe until a great king named Charlemagne, that's before Charles, came to the throne of France. So he's the king of France to begin with. Charlemagne conquered the nearby German lands and added them to his own territory. He passed law to keep the kingdom peaceful. His empire became so large that the Pope, the leader of the Christian church in the West, called the Catholic Church, held a special church service and appointed Charlemagne to be the Roman Empire. But the Roman Empire had been destroyed a century ago, so what does it mean? Okay. It means Charlemagne's new empire would keep the peace over a large portion of Europe, just as the Roman Empire had done in ancient times. Since he was a Christian, his new Roman Empire would also spread Christianity through the world. That's why Charlemagne eventually became known as the Holy Roman Empire. So it's a title later on Charles aspired to inherit or be crowned under. Making sense to you guys? Okay. So Charles wants to be known as the Holy Empire too. So that's why his later comer want to recover the former glory. I'm sorry, I'm confused.
No, it's okay. It's in a little bit of a story mode.
Yeah, story mode. Yeah. So Charlemagne is a Roman emperor, the first Holy Roman Empire.
So before
Emperor
Charles.
before Charles. He became the example of Charles to follow. That's why Charles has aspired to conquer other land to become this, which he eventually became to be. Now, continue to review a little bit. We ramp it up.
So it was kind of a fight to him wanting to be a Holy Roman
Empire, yeah.
like almost being the Pope, so he could have full control. Because
It was the Pope not allowing it.
Not allowing it because he's
Yeah.
too powerful already,
Yeah.
and the other king don't like it as well. So
So he wanted
they
to,
align together to try to resist this move.
and since they wouldn't do that, and he was gonna do it by force. With
Yeah, he aligned
fighting
himself
them.
with who? With the Protestants, right? Because Pope is a Catholic. So they're friends, Catholic, Italy, then the Pope, am I right?
Yeah,
So
one thing you'll
that's
see a
Catholic.
lot during these centuries is, or the following centuries of this time, after the Reformation, where you have these two groups of Christianity, which is
Fighting each
Catholicism, or Catholics, and Protestantism, which are the Protestants. These kind of spread into different countries, and so kings and rulers of this time, in their association with other rulers, whether they want to side with them or conquer them,
Yeah.
they will almost to a point of strategy will switch their affiliated side of Christianity from Catholicism to Protestants, depending on whether or not that will give them the advantage over having armies on their side.
Yeah.